In hindsight, it's my calling. When you think about it, my last name is Staff. Staff is written on 5 lines and 4 spaces. That's the musical term for what music is written on, manuscripted on. So just like how Bolt was made to run fast, yeah, I think I was made to play music. Ever since I knew myself as around music, both my parents play, my brother and my sisters play. So I was always exposed to it. They show me this, daddy show me this. I have a book named Smallwoods. I forget what it is. It's a yellow book with black manuscript and music notes on it. First real introduction to formal music training, even though I'm not officially formally trained. My first real influence outside of the home is, as you know, Mrs. Longmore from Bel Air Prep. And Miss Longmore, I think she first saw the love that I had and the passion that I had. But my first instrument I was really proficient in was drums. Even though my first exposure was piano, my real proficient instrument to this day is drums, I think. When I started high school, and there was Manchester High School band, when they had auditions for the junior band, I went there to play drums, but there were like 5 other drummers and no keyboard players. So we had every other instrument except keyboards. And I was like, okay, I play keyboards. Let me play keyboards. I'm like, okay. So by the time, because it was always my intentions to play drums, but because there was no other keyboard player, I just ended up in that role, which was a blessing in disguise, because that's an instrument with melody, which would play a pivotal role in my songwriting, which I didn't know at the time. So I just got stuck with the keyboards and just was proficient at it. So after I left high school, sixth form, I went to UWI. Started UWI September 89, but Ruff Kutt was formed by October 89, and by October 89 I was on tour Junior Reid as well. So just coming to Kingston and being in the metropole, so to speak, everything just tumbled down. You had Rhythm Kings and you had Sagittarius, the 2 top bands. They were doing all the shows, and they were the guys who were the trailblazers, so to speak, for dancehall. Every other band, 809, Lloyd Parks and with the people, they were mostly doing reggae. The sought after acts were your Dennis Brown, your Gregory Isaacs. But they were the ones that, Rhythm Kings and Sagittarius were the ones that were doing the Papa Sons and the General Trees and the Stitches, and I was like, wow. So because they had so much work, they wanted to form a young understudy band. That was Rhythm Kings. That's Dr. Paul. Big up Dr. Paul Hamilton. Paul is very instrumental in my career. Say it with no apology. He and I don't talk much anymore because that's another story. But the love and the respect and the honor of Paul is not normal. I think the only other person that I could say I rate more than Paul is my father. Yeah, man, he's really, there are things he said to me to this, see I getting goose pimples, things he said to me to this second that I live by. And I see how they've impacted my life and changed my life. So big up Paul Hamilton. Real unsung hero in other thing. But the real brainchild for Ruff Kutt was his cool mate, Colin White, Colin Natulus. He's the guy that genuinely formed Ruff Kutt. It's his brainchild. And so he said, I want to form this band and share the idea with Paul, and Paul said, let's do it. So that first audition, which would engulf everybody, had me in it. Because there was so much work, and Rhythm Kings was supposed to be in 3 places at one time. Sagittarius was supposed to be in 5 places at one time. Bands were being formed by artists individually. I was starting to get a lot of calls. So the first call I got was Paul telling me that I'm going to send you to an audition with Junior Reid. So I spent my whole weekend learning Junior Reid songs. When I went to the audition, I just behaved like I didn't know any. I just played them. I was like, okay. And so I look like a real prodigy. And nailed the job. And so I was touring with Junior Is One Blood. And that was my first professional flyout then, so to speak. I remember saying I was in 7 different bands at the same time. I remember counting 7. I can't remember all the names now. But I was like out there, bro. I was like out there, and I think that was very instrumental because I learned a lot from everybody. What Errol Lee taught me is life change. Goose Pimples again. Pick up Errol, the man will never get old. Yeah, man, Errol Lee, big up yourself. The man teach me. The man they teach me business now and how to live your life. Man, them called me in a band meeting, and the band meeting was youth. You can't done woman in them. That was the band meeting, you know. Youth, you cannot done woman. We've all tried. You cannot. You cannot finish women. Relax, focus.
If you've been following reggae music and stage shows, you would recognize that the band on the stand is none other than the Ruff Kutt Band.
I think the only 2 persons I've not worked for in our genres are Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. I swear. Yeah. Everybody passed through my hands at some point. I did Dennis Brown's last show, the Garnet 6 last show. I remember being one in Florida when they had the Gulf War, and he did the song Murderer, and he said, George Bush, how would you feel if you wake up one morning and saw a big M16 nozzle at your jaw, and after him say, how would you feel if you wake up? And I never heard that thing. The eruption was ridiculous. I remember Bug Rhythm coming out up at UA. I don't remember Spectrum or Countdown. And Wayne Wonder comes out and he says, last night I made a booty call. Woke a girl for me. And it was devastating. I remember Beacon Theatre, Shabba Ranks, Heavy D, Guy. They did the song Now That We Found Love, and it was #1 that week in New York, and we didn't rehearse, and Shabba Ranks just called out Heavy D, and because I was such a third world fanatic, I knew the song, and right on the spot, I told Jummy what to play, I told Dr. Paul what to play, and I played, and it was happening like this, and it looked like rehearsal. It was like wow. Yeah, so this was chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and so there was like a bluff. Everything just started to bloom, and we started trying new things, and there was a new crop of artists. You had your Bounty Killers, your Beenie Mans, you had the Spragga Benz, and your whole Dave Kelly crew, and there was a new Pepper Seed, a whole new what we know as the golden era of dancehall. So you had a lot of new things happening from all angles, and the time was ripe for us to express that creativity, soaking up the culture. So I listened to something different in the morning, John listened to something different in the afternoon. By the time we had rehearsals in the night, all of the creative energy just come together. It was just magic. It's always been magic with Ruff Kutt. And then producers would start a link. Dave Kelly, Tony Kelly. They'd start to say, yo, why you make a rhythm for me? Why don't you come play upon a rhythm for me? And I was like, okay. And so they end up in the studio. They had specialists who was also instrumental, because as I said, he would bring me to a lot of meetings, and he would bring me to the studio as well. And they'd say play, wouldn't be on par, and Mikey Ben would say, remember this, that, and I'm like, okay. And so that was like my birth into making rhythms, which is writing out the music. And then Rik Rok, Ricardo Docent, was the man that really made me start to write lyrics and understand how to write songs from a lyrical perspective. And then Dave Kelly was the man that really taught me how both of them gel. Dave Kelly and Jeremy Harding. Robert Livingston, who used to manage Shaggy, he called specialists and he said Shaggy needs help because he's like having what you'd call a writer's block. So Shaggy would be writing his songs, and Robert, as the man that goes into the meetings and he's listening for what he knows that's marketable, he wasn't getting it. And specialist came to me, and Prince Midas, who was also in the band, and said, I'm gonna send you over to write some songs with Shaggy. And that was even before Rik Rok, and so that was like my first like assignment. When you're in a room with Dave Kelly, when you're in a room with Tony Kelly, when you're in a room with Sean, Jeremy, they're their biggest critics. They throw out the best of it. I'm like Wasn't Me album, which is Hot Shot, 42 songs were written, 14 were chosen, and every one of those 42 songs were written at least 3 times. You have a next god of music named Sean Sting Bizona. The Monday tell you about space. One of the biggest ingredients in music production is silence. Sometimes it's not what you play, it's what you don't play. It's what's not there that makes the difference. Yeah, the money. Brother, that interview can go on for weeks. There's so much that I soaked up with them. I think one of my game-changing rhythms was me and Don Carleon, Drop Leaf. Me and Don were really close, you know. He's my daughter's godfather. That's how close we are. And one day him called me and him say, yo, I have 3 rhythms for make for job, see some Japanese now. I want to make them rhythm and collect and cut, you know. But one is a 1-drop rhythm. I never make a 1-drop rhythm, so I wait for you. So when I got there, him and DJ Wayne Morris, they were trying to make the dance, but they're making it backwards. Cause one drop is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But they were doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. I'm like that backward. I'm like, what you mean? So in teaching them the rules of reggae 1-drop, Drop Leaf make. As in Cayman, I flew to Cayman, and when I got to Cayman, turned on my phone, million missed call from Dan Wagon. I was there with Elephant Man. He said, brother, Morgan Energy just has the baddest song on the rhythm. My health crisis was waking up to 8 strokes. I remember dozing off and waking up back like maybe 7:11, 7:14, and the news was wrapping up. And I shut out the phone and I got up at 2 minutes to 1. So I'm in between sleep and I'm in between being awake. I'm like, okay, need to go check Jummy, drop off the money. Need to pick up my son. I need for this, I need for that. Alright, I just get up and empty my bladder now, and I realized I couldn't get up. But I was still half asleep, you know. It's like, okay, I'm not getting up. And so I wake up and I'm like, get up. And I realized I could not get up at all. And so I start to panic now. I'm like, why am I not getting up? And like, the phone is like there, like literally 3 feet away from me. And I'm trying to roll to the phone and I have no control of my body. The whole of my left side dead. And so I panic now and I start to bawl out like, help! My help sound like, it's like, and I was there for like 10, 12 minutes trying to move, and I couldn't move. I had no control, no nothing. And then life just came back into my body. I took out my phone, I called my neighbors and said, I think I just had a stroke. I said, let me check my blood pressure. And when I checked my blood pressure, I was getting an error on the machine, because apparently blood pressure was that high. And by about the 3rd try, the 2nd stroke started. There's this other keyboard player, Wade Johnson. He was having COVID. He had a serious bout of COVID. And Dr. Carl Bruce, I grew up with, he's head of top neurosurgeon. He was looking out for Wade on the ward. Because normally the man in an answer phone, you have to leave a message. Doctor, the Monday mega busy, efficient. So he answered my call, but it wasn't really me who was calling, it was my neighbor. And so my neighbor told me he's having a stroke and I'm sending him up to the hospital right now and that. And my kids came into the room and yo, oh boy. Within 10 minutes The ambulance was there and put me in the ambulance. By the time I reached half a tree, second stroke gone. By the time I reached a U-Tech, third stroke start. So when I'm wheeled it into UHWI, I'm having the third stroke. And when the doctors take me and I say, yo, I need to use the bathroom, say that everything we need for the now. We have 3 hours before we have brain damage. And brother, they run every test for me. Them say, oh my God, he's having thrombosis. You need to pay for this. It costs $600,000 and pay for it. And they say, no, it's not thrombosis. I'm having thrombosis, bleeding on the brain. You know, I'm not bleeding on the brain. And them say, this is angiogram. I think the only 2 tests I never did. It's like a pap smear and a pregnancy test, bro. Every test. The man them run for me. And they sat and watched the next 5 strokes happen. So they know it was strokes. It's not me telling them. And they're like, well, we don't think. They sat and watched the last 5 strokes happen. And by the next day, I'm good. By the time them checked me, I'm good. My creatinine levels were the only thing that was high. And they said that could be because of the fluid that they pumped in my body for the angiogram. My blood pressure regularized, which was weird because they like to take down your blood pressure by little and just normalize. And I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. They're just monitoring my levels because they're like, wow. Until this second, they can't tell me is X or Y that caused the strokes. They really can't tell me. I've always respected life and loved life and friendships and all of that. But after that, whole new meaning. A lot of things I used to take for granted, I don't take for granted anymore. I'm part of a process, and people in Jamaica will like to say, yo, it's me that sweep out the studio, you know. It's me that say is and me that say and. No, it's not about that. It's a process. Even the man them in the street team, we got to bleach every night, forget the song play, they're critical. I mean, I understand publishing and royalties and all of that, and I've benefited tremendously from that. You know, my publishing is in order. A lot of people, up to today, somebody saying, Stories Time, you get a national award, dog, because people are getting national award and bad like. I'm like, okay, but for me, it's really not about that, you know, bro. I mean, we're grateful for that if that happens, but that's never been our mission. Like, I feel like I just start music now. I feel like I have so much more to learn and so much to contribute. Like, I have a good 35 more years to contribute, with God giving me the right health and the right frame of mind. I wouldn't change anything in my journey, you know. I wouldn't change anything. I am so blessed and I'm so thankful for my journey. I think it's mostly fortune and luck, because a lot of things had to line up for the perfect storm. But bro, I'm really thankful and grateful.